During ancient Kalimdor, the powerful energy of arcane magic emanating from the Well of Eternity yielded birth and regrowth to the continent. Eventually, sentient life itself began to arise in the form of trolls. Although they were only of average intelligence, what they lacked intellectually they made up for physically. They were hunter-gatherers and one of the best at their craft. Their physical strength and agility were unmatched, and they had the ability to even regenerate lost limbs, making them extremely resilient. However, going back to their intelligence, since they weren't extremely smart, they had a rather primitive culture. This resulted in the partaking of superstitious activities. Some meditated in an effort to obtain more knowledge of mystic practices. More aggressive trolls would devote themselves entirely to warfare, trying to better their fighting skills every day, and some may even practice cannibalism. Other trolls who sought to seek power through the magical arts would seek out a powerful and dark source of magic called voodoo. However, no matter what they practiced or what powers they were called to, all trolls had one thing in common. They revered and worshipped the wild gods of Azeroth, whom they referred to as the Loa. Now, the Loa tended to dwell on cliffs and peaks within the world. When Keeper Freya ordered Azeroth and created enclaves of life, these wild gods began to emerge and follow her side by side. One of their most sacred refuges would be the peak of Mount Hyjal. Because of this, trolls began to settle near the highest peaks within southern Kalimdor, since these were the homes to their Loa and they believed it to be sacred. Soon, shrines began to emerge, giving homage to these mighty Loa. In time, a group of the most powerful of all the trolls claimed nearly all of the plateaus, naming the mountain range as Zandalar, and these shrines devoted to their gods would soon become a beautiful temple city named Zuldazar. This powerful group of trolls was known as the Zandalari. However, not everyone was happy with the Zandalari being the dominant tribe. Over the course of hundreds of years, other tribes began to challenge the Zandalari for land and power. Among the tribes that did arise to power were the Gurubashi, Amani, and Drakari. In time, the Gurubashi and Amani were able to claim a vast amount of forest and jungle lands. Every now and then, the tribes would come into contact with each other and react in a hostile manner. They would clash and there would be bloodshed, but rarely would there ever be a conflict everlasting for a long period of time or be blown out of proportion. No matter what tribe they were from, all trolls knew that their kin were all fierce and deadly fighters. To wage war against one another would cost both sides, no matter what tribe they were. In addition to this, ancient Kalimdor had plenty of land, so the trolls saw it as wise to settle in different lands rather than challenge their own kin and risk the fracturing of their entire race. Now, among all of the lands that they had access to, only one place was absolutely forbidden to settle or even travel to. This place was home to a mound of black stones which the Loa warned the trolls would have severe consequences if they were to be disturbed. After hearing this, the trolls heard the words of their deities and no one dared travel to the forbidden area for years to come. In time, however, a group of curious trolls did travel to the forbidden zone, and it is during this time where they realized that the black stones were not stones at all. They were the hide of a creature. These trolls, however, thought that it was another Loa, an extremely powerful one, seeing as to how the other Loa were apparently afraid of it. And so out of their curiosity, they began conducting rituals which included living sacrifices to awaken the beast. However, this act would become one of the biggest mistakes the trolls of ancient Kalimdor had ever partaken in. Awaking due to the blood sacrifices, a monstrous being named Kith'ix, once one of Yogg-Saron's most powerful Kith'raxi generals, arose from slumber. Immediately after waking up, it slaughtered the surrounding trolls who had awakened it. What the trolls did not know, however, was that this was a servant of Yogg-Saron who had been tasked with the mission of slaying the Titan Keeper Tyr years ago. However, in the battle with Tyr, Kith'ix was severely injured and wandered to a range of mountains to hibernate and recover from its wounds. This range of mountains was the Zandalar Mountains. The Loa who resided there buried the creature in hopes that no one would disturb it, but despite their actions, it has once again returned. Kith'ix looked upon the Troll Empire with hatred, for the Trolls knew no power. Their civilization was a speck compared to what the Black Empire had been. Knowing it would please its masters to raise the civilization to ash, Kith'ix then reached out to the insectoid race known as the Akir and rallied them. It then patiently waited as its body recovered and the insectoid army grew in number, and when the time finally was right, Kith'ix waged war on the Trolls. Now, the Trolls were fierce warriors and exceptionally skilled in combat, but this was something that they had never experienced before. insects washed over their land, completely wiping off smaller troll tribes from the face of Kalimdor. This was when the Zandalari tribe took serious action. The Zandalari united all remaining troll tribes into a single alliance which they called the Empire of Zul, and together, regardless of tribe or culture, every single troll would work together to fight off the old god servants. Now this is where the land of which they settled in would really come in handy. Since it was situated on a towering peak, it gave them an excellent vantage point to see in every direction. Under the Zandalari's leadership, the trolls ambushed the Akiri ranks, slowly whittling their numbers while priests would ask the Loa for guidance and aid, resulting in the Loa joining the trolls in battle and completely tearing apart the insectoid ranks. At one point, even Kith'ix itself was gravely wounded from battle. This turn of events caused Kith'ix and his army to retreat from the Zandalari mountains and to go into hiding until once again they could emerge at peak strength. However, the Zandalari knew that even though they had driven the insects away, they still posed a huge threat, one that could be responsible for the extinction of their entire race. And so they hunted them down to the corners of the continent. However, these regions could not be left unguarded, for if the insects escaped underground, they could breed a whole new colony, and once again, the trolls would be forced to war with a much more powerful foe. And so, the most power-hungry troll factions, including the Amani, Gurubashi, and Drakari, set out to different lands to hunt down the Akir and establish their kingdoms. The Drakari ventured to the frozen north where they encountered corrupted Tovir that nearly overpowered them. However, in the end, they managed to defeat both the Akir and the Tovir. So too did the Gurubashi encountered corrupted Titanforge. They ventured to the southern lands to Ankiraj where they fought against the Anubisith the Giants. At the start of the encounter, the trolls' losses were immense and victory seemed not possible. However, the Zandalari instructed them to divide their forces. Instead of waging war as a large body, they split up into small groups and ambushed the insects, bleeding them dry. However, they were unable to completely exterminate them. The Amani, however, were tasked with the most important mission: kill Kith'ix. Together, they tracked the being's trail, which led them into a large body of Akir. In an attempt to quell the threat once and for all, the entire Amani tribe flung themselves at Kith'ix in a suicidal attack, slaying the Kith'raxi and its Akiri soldiers. Though the Amani were successful, the price was high and had cost them oceans of blood. Only the tiniest faction of Amani trolls had survived. However, this act would live on as legend throughout troll history. Atop the battle site of where they had killed the Kith'raxi general and its forces, the remaining Amani trolls settled, and soon it would grow into the mighty city known as Zul'jin. United together under the Zandalari, the trolls had succeeded. They had avoided extinction, conquered a mighty foe, and fractured an empire. The Akir were now scattered. The insects were now divided, either inhabiting the dry lands in the south or the cold frozen lands to the north. Central Kalimdor, however, was permanently purged of all presence of the Akir. With no one to guide them in battle, the insects lost all interest in fighting, and the trolls claimed their victory.